All right, everyone. So we're gonna get started. It's a smaller group today, but I think that's okay. So before we begin, I know that some of you were here last week, but I don't know that every one of you were here. So if you wouldn't mind just again doing a quick introduction, just so we know who's in the session today. And I'll start. My name is Chinaza Onile. I'm the instructional designer here at Mercer. And anyone else can chime in.
Hi, I'm Homer, Nicole Homer. I work in the English department, and I teach online a fair amount.
Hey, I'm Mimi, I'm a computer science faculty member.
Great. And I think we have Laurel.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I teach health. Uh, I'm an adjunct professor of health.
Okay. Are you called in?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So this session, I am going to go through some of these online tools, which would require just being able to see the screen. But otherwise, are you able to see my screen or?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, just making sure. All right, great. So thank you. I'm really excited that all of you joined today. I know last week we kind of went over basic tips for online learning. So what the research says about online learning and just basic pedagogy and strategies to use. Today, we're going to get a little more specific when we talk about using tools to maximize student engagement. Um, and like last time, we are going to talk about some learning objectives. And these are the ones that, I hope that by the end of today's session, you all will be able to do these two things. And that's one, identify just different online learning applications, as well as tools that you can use to create surveys and polls. And then the last part of our time today, since it's not that many of you, I think all of you could probably work really well in a group. I'm going to ask you to actually create a sample poll for a mock class. I know we introduced the mock class last week. It'll be the same one. But again, it's just giving you practice on using some of these polling tools, which I think are really, really helpful. Then we have our agenda. So we're going to briefly cover just how you can use polling and surveying in an online classroom. Then we're going to go through just demonstrations. So the first one is, how do you use Zoom polling? How do you use Mentimeter? Mentimeter is a surveying / polling tool that's similar to Kahoot, but it's very easy. Anyone with a cell phone or a computer can easily access the poll. We're going to talk about using Microsoft Forms, which all of you have access to as Mercer employees through Office 365. And then lastly, I'll walk you through using Perusal, which is a free service that allows you to upload readings that students can then interact with. So we'll talk about those 4 tools, and then at the end, we'll have the group work. Does anyone have any questions about that? Are any of these tools something you've seen before? Are they familiar to you? Oh, okay. So in the chat we have, okay, so Nicole, you've heard of them. All right, so the first thing we're gonna talk about is, one, how can polling and surveying tools be used in an online classroom? And for this, I'm actually going to open up a Zoom poll. So you should see a Zoom poll pop up on your screen. And I just want you to answer the questions. How can polling and surveying tools be used in an online classroom? Which of these do you think? Oh, okay. So all of you are picking all of them. Great. Awesome. Okay, so all of you participated. Great. And that's essentially That's essentially right. So the idea of polling and surveying is that you can use this one before class, depending on the tool you're using. You can use them during class. And ultimately, it's just to collect information. When we talk about surveying, so when I think of surveying, I'm thinking more of an online form, something like Microsoft Forms. This is something you can use to collect data from students, whether you just want to get a feel of, the class climate. You could ask basic questions. What are they hoping to learn from your class? What are the best ways that you can reach them? Things like that. You can easily collect using a form like Microsoft Forms. There are other forms that are similar, like Google Forms, but because we are a Microsoft school, we do have access to Microsoft Forms, it's a free service. So that's one way. And then the second way is to reinforce learning, right? So when we create polls, it's just a great way, and with Zoom, you can actually create these polls throughout class, where let's say you just finished a 15-minute lecture and now you want to reinforce the learning. So you ask a few questions highlighting some of the content you discussed during class, right? So my poll, and I'll relaunch it again, you don't have to answer, but my poll was about, this specific slide, right? And you can create a poll for whatever you want, pretty much. It could be about any content that you are, okay, there's someone else. It could be about any content that you are trying to convey to your students. You can put it in a poll. And usually with Zoom polls, and that's the first thing we'll go over, it's usually multiple choice. And you have to be, you'd have to write the question and then come up with the answers and have your students select the right one. But it's a great reinforcement tool. It breaks things up. It's a great way to break up lecture. I know last week we talked about how lectures shouldn't really go beyond 10 to 15 minutes, because at that point you're losing the adult learner. So polls are a great way to just kind of pause and get a sense of, what the students are learning. You can also reinforce learning by using not just Zoom polls, but we'll introduce it later, Mentimeter. And that's something outside of Zoom, but it's something you can easily post in the chat, or you could present it to your students, and I'll go over that with you guys later. And then the last way that polling and surveying tools can be used is really to increase engagement. And that's, these sessions that I'm running, the idea is that all of the tips and tricks and strategies that we'll go over is to really promote engagement. Because again, all we have are these screens, right? Our students don't see us. They don't get to really see each other. And they see each other, but they're not interacting with each other in the same way that they used to. So it's really, really important to have fun, creative ways to promote engagement. Okay. So now we're going to look at Zoom polling. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop sharing this screen so that I can pull up how to use a Zoom poll. Okay, so I'm going to start with Zoom. So if you go to zoom.us and you have an account, the idea is that you want to make sure that you have an account. If you have a paid account, you can use the polling feature. I don't know that polling is available for unpaid accounts, but depending on the account you have, depending on whether or not you have an account through the school, or you just kind of, paid for an account on your own, you have access to polls. So when you log into Zoom, right, you hit my account. This is my account with Zoom, and you're going to see a bunch of different items. What you want to do with polls, and it's something that I had to figure out on my own, because for a long time I wasn't able to use polls because I didn't really know how to use it. But now that I do, it's a really great tool that I incorporate in my own classes. So once you're in your account homepage, you want to click first settings. So unless you enable the poll feature, it won't work on your Zoom. And polls it's actually something that shows up in your toolbar when you start a meeting. So as a presenter, you usually have a toolbar at the top of your screen. It has mute, it has start video, it has participants, it has share. If you enable polls and you create a poll, you'll also see an item on that toolbar that says polls. But to do that, you have to enable it. So we started in my account, we clicked settings, and what you're going to do is, and sorry, there's some people coming in now. What you're going to do is hit in meeting basics. So under in meeting basic, if you scroll down, you will see there's whiteboard, there's remote control. And then there's meeting polls. So I'm just trying to count which it's pretty far down, but in meeting basics, you have to scroll down, and when you see meeting polls, so I'm going to highlight it here, this has to be enabled. If I check this off, it's not going to be enabled, right? So that's the first thing. You want to make sure that this is enabled. And this is also just a great place to go to when you want to enable other features in Zoom. Like the whiteboard feature is on here. I think we just passed that. Annotation is on here. Whiteboard is on here. If these aren't enabled, you're not going to be able to use those tools in Zoom. So we have this enabled, so that's good. The next part about polls, this is kind of the tricky part. So I will show you how this works. Typically with polls, you have to create them in advance. And that means that this is something you have to schedule in advance. So you need to, one, schedule a meeting, right? And that's, I'm not sure if you guys know how to do that, but it's pretty self-explanatory. When you schedule a meeting, I'll just schedule, this is a fake meeting I'm scheduling now. And I'll say it's gonna start at 4, and that's it, I just save it, right? Once you save that meeting, you're going to, at the very end, see this window that says you have not created any poll yet. So if you don't add a poll to this window, the poll feature will not work on Zoom. You have to add the poll prior to class. So what I'm going to do is add a poll for this fake meeting, and you can give your poll a title. So I will say meet and greet. And maybe my question is, I don't know, what is your favorite color? So that is what my poll question is. I can either have it be a single choice where students can only pick one answer, or multiple choice where they can pick multiple answers. So I only want them to pick one answer. So maybe I'll say blue, green, red, pink, and I guess we'll stop at yellow. Okay, so once I've put in my answers, I'm just going to hit save. And now for this meeting that I have at 4, which again, it's not a real meeting, but you can see that there's a poll here. Because I've added a poll to that meeting, once this meeting launches, you will see when you start a meeting, in the beginning of at the top of your screen, you're going to see a toolbar, and polls will be one of the items in your toolbar because you've added a poll to your meeting. If I look at the meetings I have right now, so this meeting is happening. I can add a poll to the meeting right now. And maybe, I don't know, maybe it'll be the same question. Again, we'll say meet and greet. We'll say, what is your favorite color? Single choice, red. Make it quick. Blue. Green. Pink. Okay. So I'm going to save this poll. And now this is another poll that I've added. So we're gonna test this out. If I'm going to launch the new poll that I created, and you guys should be able to see it on your screen. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Wonderful. So you can actually create polls in real time. Again, I wouldn't recommend that because you're teaching and it would be very distracting. So the idea is you want to do this before class. All the questions, all the polls that you want to do before class. I'm gonna, I hope I pronounced your name right. Jahan, you have a question? You can unmute yourself.
Yes. Hi, Shanaz.
Hi.
Thank you for sharing your knowledge here and training us. I have a question. I created a poll before, and it gives you the choice between anonymous or not. And even when you choose not, you're unable to see the student names. You just see the answer, how many, right? Is there a way around that?
Let me look at that real quick. Oh, okay, hold on.
Thank you.
I'm pretty sure. So let's see. When we add a new poll, anonymous. I mean, it shouldn't be. And I'm going to look at if you guys. I'm going to end polling. I'm going to view or do I share results? Okay, what are you guys seeing on your screen? It says attendees are now viewing the poll results. I think what you should be seeing is the answers, but no one's name should be there.
Yes, I see blue and green at 50%, but there's no names as to who voted for which one.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know that you see it in real time. So I know that Zoom has a reports feature. And in that reports feature, you can get data about who logged in, who didn't log in. And I think at the end, it might show the answers, but I don't know that because it's a live class and you're sharing and you might possibly share the results. I don't know that anonymous means you can see those students in real time. I think it might mean that you can look at your Zoom report and see who answered what, but I'm not sure. I would have to wait and run this report and see what happens. But I can table that question and maybe get back to you on that, only because, again, I'm not that familiar with reports. I'm still learning how to use them, but I'm not sure that you can see who answered what in real time. I think that's something that happens after the fact if you run reports. Let me just yeah, it says participant specific. Okay, yes, and view registration reports and poll reports for meetings. So yes, so if you wanted to go in and figure out who answered what, you would have to, upon the completion of your Zoom session, you would go to reports, you would click meeting, and then you would pick which meeting that you want to generate a report for. I haven't finished this meeting yet, so I'm not going to generate a report for that, but that's where you will see the poll results, and it says it right here. And I'm guessing in that report, it wouldn't be anonymous because you didn't select it, but in real time, I don't think it tells you. Okay, so as far as polls, so let's go back to the poll. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. You again, my recommendation is to create all of your polls before class to have them ready so that you're not doing it, during a live session. You can have a pretty good number of questions. Unfortunately, I think right now it's either single choice or multiple choice. The limitation with Zoom is that I don't know that you can plug, like you can't, there aren't many other options as far as the kinds of questions. I don't know that students can type in their own answer at this point, but this does allow you a quick way to just get some participation. Does anyone have any questions about Zoom polling before we move on to the next? Okay, if there are no more questions, we're going to go right to Mentimeter. So Mentimeter is a great alternative to Zoom polling, and it's great because it's free and you don't have to have a paid Zoom account to use it. So I will go through that one really quickly. Oh, wait, I think there's some questions in the chat. I just want to make sure. So someone asked, I cannot see the polling option in my free Zoom account. Is that only available to paid accounts? Yes, it's only available to paid accounts. Maybe I do not have paid. I have been using polling there. I do not think polls can be created in advance and collaborate. Yeah, so collaborate is a little different from Zoom. But again, if collaborate works for you and using their poll system works for you, that's wonderful. What I'm going to show you now is Mentimeter, which I think is it's better polling options than Zoom. It does take a little bit of work, but I think it's a good alternative if you don't have a paid Zoom account. And I just wanna, okay, so this is Mentimeter. And this is the poll that we're going to start with. So if you look at the very top, it says, go to menti.com. So you can either do that on your computer, you can do that on your phone. But once you go to menti.com, you're going to plug in the code at the very top of the screen. It says 7908696. Once you do that, you're going to literally just answer this question. It's, how are you feeling in this remote learning environment? So this is a word cloud question. As you guys plug in your answers, it could be one word answer, and really it should be a one word answer. So I'm happy, excited, nervous, whatever you're feeling. As you guys put your answers in, the word cloud should appear. I just wanna, are you guys, okay, so someone said happy. So the more you plug in, the bigger the word cloud gets. There's only 6 of you, so we'll see how this goes. But again, it's menti.com. You want to put in that code 7908696, and you just want to, okay, great. So we have learning, overwhelmed, excited, happy. So this is one of the ways to ask a question if you don't have a paid Zoom account. You can literally just share this screen and have your students go to menti.com, they put in the code, and then they can put whatever answers that they want. And this is way more advanced than what Zoom offers. Zoom does not offer word cloud answers. And I just think this is really cool. It's a good visual. So yeah, so this is, how are we feeling? And I feel all of these things. Sometimes I feel happy, sometimes I'm exhausted, but we're still here. So, okay, so next question. What are some ways you can use Mentimeter in your class? So this question should pop up on your screen because I just switched to the next slide. And it's a fill in, it's a typing, you have to type in your answers. So as you type in your answers will pop up on the screen. And I don't know how many characters you're allowed, but it's really something that isn't multiple choice. It's, your own answer. So as you guys answer this question, we'll see it pop up on the screen. So yeah, what are some ways you can use Mentimeter in your class? And you can answer that in whatever way you see fit. And hopefully we'll start to get, it's weird. Oops. Huh. Okay, we have feedback on text. Do we have any other ideas? What are some ways you can use Mentimeter in your class? You have one person. And really, it's what are some ways you can use this tool to poll students? We'll give it a know that the students are paying attention. Great. So we have 2 answers. That's good. Okay, I think those are
Shanaza, I have a question for you.
sure.
I'm using my phone to do this, but I can't submit my answer. It says I've already voted on this question because I answered the first one. Does it prevent you from answering future questions on the same code?
No, it should let you answer again.
Okay, maybe I need to
what I-
refresh my browser
yes,
then.
I would refresh the browser. It says survey the students, generate a collaborative yet fun activity. Excellent. These are all really good. Yeah, and I like Menti because as students answer their questions, if you're sharing your screen, they all can see the different answers pop up. Sharing ideas, really, really good. Wonderful. So I'm going to move on to the last slide. And the last slide is really just ask me anything. You don't have to ask me anything, but this is a slide that, Menti kind of generates at the end. If students have questions, they can put the questions on here and the presenter can answer. But just for the sake of time, let's talk about how to create a presentation. So if you go to it's really mentimeter.com. I'm going to highlight this. And I'm actually going to post this in the chat because it's something that I'm going to ask you guys to do later. Oops. If you go to mentimeter.com, and you're going to have to create a account. It's a free account. I think you can create it using Google. But essentially your homepage is going to look like this. So this is a list of my presentations. I have one presentation so far, but I'm going to create a new presentation just for demoing. And I'll just create demo. So what ends up happening with Mentimeter, the free version, unfortunately, you can only have 3 slides at a time, and the 3rd slide can only be the ask me anything slide. If you have a lot of questions, you have to create a new presentation, and I'll show you what I mean. So when we are in presentation, right, it's kind of like PowerPoint, similar, but a little different. You'll see on your right, there are different kinds of questions. So we have multiple choice, right? We have word cloud, which is something I use. We have open-ended, we have scale, we have ranking, and we have Q&A. So it's really for the students to ask questions. And all of this is free if you have the free version. So word cloud we saw, right? So you would literally, on the right-hand side, it says your question, and I'm going to ask, how are you feeling? And that's it, right? And for this question, I'm only limiting it to 3 responses per participant. You can make it less, you can make it more. It's really up to you. And then if you want to add an image, you can, they have a great image library. I don't know, maybe I'll add this, right? So when students see the question, they see this image. The only thing is that in order to see the answers, you're gonna have to press S on your keyboard to remove the image so that you could actually see the answers pop up. But this is essentially how you would create a question. Let's say we want to add another question. We click add slide. And again, maybe I'm going to make it multiple choice now, right? So you ask your question. What is your favorite color? Is my question. And then you just put your answer. Okay, so as students answer, it's going to be on this graph. And, as answers come in, you're going to see red go up, green go up, blue go up. And again, like the other question, you can add an image, all of that. The cool thing about the multiple choice is that you can change how the answers appear. So it could be bars, it could be a donut, it could be a pie, it could be dots. It's really creative and fun. So if we try to add another slide, because this is a free version, I'm going to get this notification that really says that I've reached the maximum number of questions for free. So if I did want to add a question, I think the only question I could add would be that, which is the Q&A, ask me anything. But if I tried to add a different kind of question, it wouldn't. Hold on, let me delete this for a second. Actually, I think it's 3. So let's add another slide. Oh, no, that's right. So yeah, you can see all these are grayed out, and the only thing that they're allowing me to ask is this. So even though it may seem like that's not enough, you might want a lot of questions, it's okay, right? Like we can literally just create another presentation and start again. So for each presentation, you have a limit realistically of 2 questions per presentation. If I needed more than 2 questions, I would just go back to my presentations and I would create a new presentation. And that presentation, mind you, would have a new code, right? So you would have to, so let's say this is demo 2. So I'm gonna do it all over again, have my questions. Again, the limit is 2 slides per presentation. I don't know, let's just add this and maybe, sorry, just because of time, I'm gonna make this quick. And then, let's say I have another word cloud, right? If I present this, I'm going to have, if you guys can see on the very top, a different code. A different code from the other presentation, right? This is one presentation. And this, so really what it means, if you want to have more than 2 questions, you're gonna have to create multiple presentations and open each presentation with a different code. Again, it's not the most ideal. And I think it's kind of done purposefully so that they can get you to get a paid version, but there is a workaround, and that workaround is really just multiple presentations. One thing I forgot to say is once you completed your survey, you can literally just hit present and it'll show up on the screen. There'll be a code and you're good to go. One thing I do if I'm using Mentimeter is I have this loaded, ready to go on my screen before I start class, so that you can see I have a tab here so that I can just easily go from my Zoom, my PowerPoint presentation to this. So it's pretty seamless. So that's Mentimeter in a nutshell. It's really great. I think it's fun. It's just a good way to break things up. Does anyone have any questions about Mentimeter before I move on?
Chinaza, can those be embedded? I feel like I missed that.
Can they be embedded in like a PowerPoint?
Yeah, or some other, like, can they be like the free ones? Can they be like 2 slides in, I don't know, some other delivery method? So yeah, PowerPoint, sure. Or Google Slides
I
or something.
think you can download it. Let me just, there is a way to download. I don't know if it's embeddable. Let's so when you hit share, so I do think this is it's very reliant on a network browser. So a browser, essentially. I don't know that you can embedded. I think the model with Menti is that you're forced to go to their website and present it there.
Okay.
I don't have a,
Oh,
there's an export actually. Let's see what this looks like. Okay, so again, I don't have a professional
there was
account.
it looked like there was embed code on that last one, so I can figure
Okay,
that out.
yeah,
Cool.
let again, I typically use the free version of this. Okay, yeah, so it does have, again, I'm not sure what this would look like, but I mean, definitely play around. If you're really good at embedding, I'm still kind of working towards that. But if you're really good at that, that's something you can try. Either way, it's, if you're embedding it, it would hopefully still work. And as students respond, you should be able to see the live answers pop up. But yes, you would go to share and you can copy a link, you can export, looks like screenshots,
Yeah.
which would turn into a PDF.
Thank you so much.
No
Cool.
problem. Okay, so let's go back to our presentation. Okay, so we've covered Zoom, we've covered Mentimeter. Now we're going to look at Microsoft Forms. And like I said before, this is more of a surveying tool. This isn't something I would do during class. I mean, you could do it during class, but it's really just, it's like Google Forms. If you're familiar with that, that's essentially all it is. And I use Google Forms. I also use Microsoft Forms, but this is when I really need to gather data from my students. And usually I do this because it's just a good way to collect information. So what I'm gonna have you do, I actually have a form that I'm going to share. So it's going to be, I'm going to copy this and post it in chat. And I'm going to have you guys just complete the form that way. So if you click on that link, it should take you to this page, which is my survey. I'm just, again, it's just for demonstration purposes. It's your name, your department, and the question is, what do you hope to learn from this class? But as you guys fill out the survey, I just wanted to show you how to access the results and kind of use that. But I'll give you guys some time to fill that form out. Okay, so we have a few responses. We have one response. The responses, thank you. Okay, so again, this isn't something I would do in a live session. This is just, something you can send your students before, at the end of class, and on your own time, you can kind of review the survey. But I will show you how to access Microsoft Forms and then how to create a survey. Okay, so it looks like you guys are answering. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, so if you guys know or not, if you go to office.com, you should be able to sign in. It's literally, and because this is something that I'm going to ask you guys to do, I'm going to post this in the chat. If you go to office.com, you're going to log in with your Mercer email and password. Once you log in with your Mercer email and password, you're going to get to this home screen. And essentially, it's the Mercer Office 365 account. As you can see, we all have access to Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, OneNote, SharePoint, really a lot of the Microsoft Office applications we have access to. Mercer pays for this service. So if you don't know that, now you know you have access to this, and so do your students, right? If they have a Mercer email and password, they have access to all of these Office tools. So students really shouldn't be purchasing Microsoft products because they have access to this. Once you get to this homepage, you could, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll see forms, and that's the forms application, right? So you'll see that I have the participant survey that you guys just created. But if you wanted to create a new survey, you would literally just click new quiz. You could give your quiz a name. I'm going to just say intros. You could give your quiz a description, and I'll just say, please fill out form so that I can get to know you. Okay, so that's a description, and you literally just add your question. It could be multiple choice, it could be text, it could be rating, it could be date, and there are other options, like court file upload. I know this is kind of built that it could be potentially a way to create a quiz, an assignment. I know that there are other ways to do that in Blackboard. So forms is an option, but I don't think, I'm not going to recommend it. I think it's kind of up to your discretion as an instructor. But this is built so that if you wanted it to become more like a quiz, it really could become a quiz. So I'm going to just put text, and I'm going to put name, right? You have the option to make it a required question. Again, you can give it points. If we were creating a quiz, like an actual quiz, and it would, a question about, I don't know, the reading, and you wanted to give it points, you could give the question points. It could be a long answer or a short answer. You can add restrictions, you can add math. It's really, again, it's designed to be a survey, but if you wanted it to be more like a quiz or exam, it could be that too. So I have name here. I'm going to add another one. Again, it's going to be text. I'm going to say, what are your hobbies? Okay. And then again, I can make this required, and I'm going to hit long answer. Okay. You can add themes. So if you look up here where there's like a little paint palette, you can change the theme just to make it a little fun. I think you can even add your own, right? If you're really into that. But I'll just use the school bus or the city bus. And we'll just stop there. And if this was my quiz, I could hit preview, which would show me what the student is seeing. And this is literally what they would see. They would fill out their information, they'd hit submit, and that would be it. On the back end, once they hit submit, and we'll go back to form so that we can look at the participant survey you guys created, what I get to see is the questions, but I also get to see the responses. So I can see the responses. It can go into an Excel spreadsheet. I can review the answers. And again, this is just, again, if you want to create a quick quiz for your students, maybe that's what if you're into pop quizzes and you just want something fast that they can do right then and there, you could create a pop quiz and put the link in the chat, and they'd have to complete it. And at your own time, you go back in and you check for the right answer. If you wanted to just do a survey of your students and what they like, what they don't like, that's something you can do as well. But essentially that's Microsoft Forms. I'm looking at the time, it's 2:48. So I am going to quickly look at perusal. And hopefully we do have time for the group activity. If not, I think it's probably more important just to have you guys, you know, see what options you have as far as online tools. But Perusal is the last thing we'll go over today. And Perusal is a great resource if you want to encourage your students to do their readings. If you go to perusal.com, and it's Perusall, you can sign up for free. It's a free service. You can use your Google, Gmail, whatever the case, and you will get a home screen that looks like this, right? You can create a course, and I'm going to say, because Perusal, I don't believe is integrated into our Blackboard as of now, I wouldn't, there's two options. It's for students to access directly or to integrate it into the LMS. So for now, I would recommend this option, right? Because I don't think Perusal is one of the add-ins that we have right now. But once you click that, you would just put the course name, the institution, the course start date, the end date, the enrollment estimate, the group size, all of that. You just fill in this information, right? Once you fill in that information, you're gonna see that it'll pop up under my courses. So I already created a test course, so we're just gonna review that. If you click on the course that you created, the very first tab is Get Started, and it will literally show you how to set it up. It's very, very, you know, one thing I like about Perusal is it's very easy to kind of follow because they do have so many tips and tricks, and they have tutorials throughout the entire application. But one is you want your students to enroll, and literally your students would just have to go to Perusal, create a free account, and they would enter your course code. So Perusal already created this code for me when I created the test course, right? So once your student has signed up for a Perusal account and put in this code, they will have access to your course. The next thing is you want to choose course materials, right? By clicking library. So I uploaded this course material. For Perusal to work, it's best to have the text yourself. And essentially what Perusal is doing is if you upload a text, like a reading or whatever the case may be to Perusal, you can create assignments based on that text. So I've uploaded this book. If I wanted to add something else, it's giving me the option to pick a book from their catalog webpage, a video, a podcast, but essentially it would be documents from my computer because I think it's easiest when you have your own text and you're uploading it. The next step is once you've uploaded that text, you want to click assignments. And I've already created 2 assignments based on this book. So I'm going to create another assignment. And then you'll see this drop down menu, and what shows up here is the text that I've uploaded. It's a book. So I'm gonna, it's already broken down the book into parts. I didn't do this, Perusal automatically does this. And maybe for this assignment, I just wanted to read chapter 1. So that's what I'm gonna click. I hit save changes. And now there's an assignment there. If I hit edit and I click next step, you can actually give the students the instructions. So I'm a doctoral student at Rutgers, and my professors, they use Perusal a lot. The assignments we get is if we have a research article to read, they might say, read this article and post 7 comments throughout the text. The way Perusal is set up is the text goes into Perusal, and once you have a Perusal account, you can add comments, you can add questions to the text. So you would just, put those instructions in there. You could even assign it to specific students. Again, it's really up to you. There are different options. And you can, you can use the scoring settings that you can customize. But essentially, once you have uploaded your text and you have your assignments, and I don't have any students in my class right now. And I wanted to show you kind of what a student would see. Let's see if I can. I'm sorry, there's this. So if I open this, and so students come in and they see the text that you've uploaded and the portion of the text. Remember, I only said chapter 1, right? So I want them to go in there and I want them to read, and they have to have 7 comments, right, for this reading. With, ooh, I think someone's unmuted. Okay,
Hello?
so with,
Caller.
okay, so with perusal, my assignment was 7 comments. So I'm a student, maybe this sentence really spoke to me. So when I highlight it, my little face shows up and I can put a comment. This is really great. Or again, this probably wouldn't suffice as a comment. I know my professors, they're very specific about the substance of the comment. They'll say it has to be a synthesis, it has to, be a really provocative question or whatever, but you would set those parameters and have your students follow those parameters. But for the purposes of this demo, I just put this is really great. I submit it. This is one of the comments out of the 7 that I need to make. And again, I can just continue to go through and add comments. If I make it a question, it shows up as a question, not a comment. And the cool thing is, as more students go through the text, I would be able to see that as a student. I could literally click all comments, and right now it's just me, but it would show all the comments. I could respond to other students' comments, but it is a great way to do reading interactively. Again, I use this as a doctoral student, and I know for me, it's so helpful just seeing what my other peers are writing about the text. I can ask them questions, they can ask me questions. Because it's a graded assignment, you're more likely to do it. The reading is already there, it's uploaded. And as an instructor, you get to see who's doing the reading and who's following your assignments. So Perusal is really great. Again, it's free. You don't have to embed it into Blackboard. I don't think that's a capability right now. But you can set it up just like this. And once you have your class set up, it again creates a code for you. And all you have to do is ask your students to create a Perusal account and use the code to register. It's very easy. It's very straightforward. I think this is really great. I think it's a game changer when it comes to reading. But again, it's something that you can use that's free. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking. I don't want to take too much of your time. The last piece for today was really the goal. The goal was to have you guys, work together in groups. And I was going to ask you to create a poll or a survey using Mentimeter or forms for your students. But again, this is a recorded session. I'm going to upload this to the Teach site. I do encourage you to go back and think of ways to use this in your class. You'd be surprised how a simple poll, or simple perusal assignment can just take engagement to another level. So, that's essentially, what I have for you guys today. It's 2:58, but are there any questions before we end about perusal, Mentimeter, anything? Okay. chat. Okay, thank you, Nicole. Right, so again, my job is to kind of assist you all. If you guys need one-on-one help setting up any of these tools, you can definitely email me and we can schedule something. What I'm gonna do is I'll put my email in here. Especially perusal, I think that, that does take a little more time. And if it's something that you do need assistance with and you really want to, work to use that in your classroom, that's something we can definitely do. But yeah, it was really wonderful. And next week, we're going to talk about using videos, you know, to enhance student engagement. So how we can use that to really promote student engagement. How do we even make videos viewable on Zoom, and making sure the settings allow for optimal use when we're talking about videos. But that's what we'll cover next time. But if we have no other questions, it's 3 o'clock. Enjoy your afternoon, and I'll see you guys next week, hopefully. Thank you.